You're not going to be a dictator, are you? I said, no, 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 other than day one.
Donald Trump has successfully moved the Overton window in a way that is as dangerous for the future of democracy in this country as anything else.
This is what Vout and Project 2025 wanted.
Newsom is he's daring Tom Homan to come and arrest him. Should he do it? I would do it if I were Tom. I think it's great.
They control the Congress, they control the White House, and they control the courts. And so, of course, they're massively overreaching. And yes, they are getting away with it right now.
This is clearly a man who cannot tolerate criticism of him or what he does, which is exactly what authoritarianism is all about.
The New York Times is just as fake as CNN and MSDNC. They really are the enemy of the people.
What he is saying, rather bluntly, if you stand up to Donald Trump, he will punish you.
Protesters in Philadelphia, state capitals in California, Minnesota, Michigan, Texas, Wisconsin, Indiana, and others showed up to oppose Trump, Musk, and Project 2025.
US and President Trump has overseen America's largest military parade in decades as nationwide protests take place against his leadership.
Demonstrations are happening right across the United States today to oppose the Trump administration.
Two visions of America. On a day the country's deepening divide was there for all the world to see.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the show. Logically Left. I'm your host, Jeff Waldorf. And I've got a great Friday show for y'all. So we actually have some interesting, good, possibly good stuff that's happening. Mahmoud Khalil is suing the Trump administration. Talk about that. I'm looking forward to that story. We've got the Epstein files. Yes, we're going to start out with that because that's a lot of fun. We've got Ken Paxton having a bit of a breakup. That's the Texas Attorney General, who's anti-trans, supposedly super Christian. Yeah, a little bit of a divorce happening. Not good. Not good. We've got Fetterman versus Mom Donnie, and Trump trying to help his buddy Bolsonaro. So, be prepared to pay more for stuff in order to try to help Bolsonaro. So great. Fantastic. And again, it all has to do with tariffs and using those tariffs for political purposes. Okay. So anyway, first, before I dive into the stories, I want to ask you all to like and share the stream. Very important that you do so. Helps me out greatly. I also want to thank a couple of people. Faye1 for becoming a member over on our Patreon, patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf. Thank you for signing up for in order to fund independent progressive media. Also, I want to thank Cheryl Pays for joining as a YouTube member. So if you're watching on YouTube, hit the join button below in order to do that. Changeling DJ for re-upping membership. Thank you for that support. Thank you for that. That's members and patrons for today. If you want to sign up and support independent progressive media, you can do so. Also, you can help us on our Facebook. You can also help us on our Twitch. Or if you have like an Amazon Prime account, you can send the Bezos bucks to me. Without you having to pay anything extra for it. So it's kind of a nice deal. Even though Amazon is a horrible, evil company. Yeah, I know. So anyway, with that said, let's dive into these stories and have a little bit of fun. Oh yeah. Good stuff. Early. Let me try and figure this out. Okay, how I want to phrase this one. So earlier this year, Representative Tim Burchett is a Trump ally, he had claimed that the FBI had uncovered a massive trove of documents relating to Jeffrey Epstein, the Epstein files. Oh, they got a massive trove, and it's, you know what? They're going to come out with it, and they're finally going to expose the cabal of PDFs in the White House. That's right, or that was in government, and of course by that they just mean like, oh, we're gonna smear Democrats. That's really what happened. Okay, but now that the FBI is like, what Epstein files? What Epstein files? There's no list. What are you talking about? There never was one. Come on. Now Burchett is saying something completely different.
Today, the FBI found 1,400 new files. Now, I don't know, they're as crooked as a dog's leg, as we say in East Tennessee. I don't trust any of them. I think the files existed at one time. I think they were destroyed in the previous administration.
Are you saying the previous administration destroyed everything, or are you saying that the Trump administration is basically doing the same thing as the previous administration?
No, I think they destroyed everything. I think.
So why wouldn't Pam Bondi say that?
She doesn't have any proof of it. I think she's got over her skis pretty much, saying all this stuff. The files are on my desk. I'm going to release it, and then she releases stuff that I knew. So I just don't think. I think they all got out there, got a little excited, and I don't think they exist.
Okay, well, hold on. So they existed in February when he was saying, oh, yeah, look, that's the FBI said they got a whole trove of them files, man. And again, that's what Bondi was saying. I got them literally on my desk. And yet, somehow, they were destroyed by Joe Biden. But how does that make any kind of logical sense? I mean, it doesn't. It doesn't make any sense. What are you talking about? You're saying that the documents that Bondi claimed were literally on her desk. Oh, yeah, they're right there. Right here. I got them right here. And that's after Joe Biden left, okay? Because that's February, all right? February, Joe Biden was no longer president, no longer in the White House. So after he left, somehow those files that were sitting on Bondi's desk were destroyed by Joe Biden? What the hell? Okay, assuming this is true, because their story makes absolutely no sense, right? But if that were true, then it would mean that that Pam Bondi didn't just get a little excited over this. It would mean that she flat out lied. Oh, yeah, no, we got the goods. We're going to come out with it. Here it comes. Here comes the Epstein files. Oh, no. Again, she lied. Not only to Tim Burchett's face, but to all of MAGA. Unless, of course, Tim Burchett, you're in on it too, right? You're just running cover for Donald Trump, blaming Joe Biden for destroying documents after he left the White House. And by the way, how can you also claim, and this is the new thing, right? Video. Oh, we have the raw video from the jail that Epstein, right of the jail cell. There's an hour missing. There's an hour missing. And not only that, but apparently that so-called raw file that they released that has an hour missing of it was edited in Premiere Pro. It's according to Wired. Okay? Metadata embedded in the video and analyzed by Wired magazine and independent video forensics experts shows that rather than being a direct export from the prison surveillance system, the footage of Epstein's cell was modified, likely using Premiere Pro. The file appears to have been assembled from at least 2 different source videos, saved multiple times, exported, and then uploaded to the DOJ website, where, again, it was presented as raw footage. That ain't raw. That's been processed. Okay, then. Wow. Huh. Now, You were going to you're going to blow this whole thing wide open. And instead, what happened is that, well, now you've just created even more conspiracy theories. Okay, then. Wow. Good job. Look, this is very interesting, too. Getting back to what Burchett was saying about, oh, yeah, no, the Biden, he destroyed it. Really? He was able to do that? I thought you guys were saying that he was so mentally not there that he couldn't even talk, that he doesn't even know that he's alive. That's a quote from Donald Trump. Well, Biden, he doesn't even know that he's alive. And yet somehow he could destroy the Epstein files. What? Or can order them destroyed? You've got to be kidding me. This entire thing just keeps getting dumber and dumber and dumber. Stupid. I don't... Again, if these files do exist, and I'm not saying 100% that they do, I'm just saying if they do, it's much more likely now more than ever to believe that Donald Trump is in these files. Why else would this administration do what they're doing and be so shady about it and just openly lie about it? I mean, honestly, and I'm not saying either that if they do exist, it doesn't necessarily mean that Donald Trump 100% engaged in sex with underage teenage girls. We don't know, but it could. He could have, and it wouldn't shock me at all if he did. I mean, look, Trump. I mean, remember he was the Miss Universe pageant. He used to hold that, and during that time, it's been documented, noted that he used to go into the girls' changing rooms, okay? And some of those girls that are in the changing rooms in various, stages of undress and putting on costumes, whatever, some of them were underage. Yeah. No wonder you get this response from Trump now when you ask about, hey, what about the Epstein files?
Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable. Do you want to waste the time, and do you feel like answering?
I don't mind answering.
I mean, I can't believe you're asking a question on Epstein at a time like this, where we're having some of the greatest success and also tragedy with what happened in Texas. It just seems like a desecration, but you go ahead.
Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? What a desecration? That seems like a desecration. Right. Definitely sounds like somebody who might have something to hide, because you sure don't want to talk about it. Very strange. Very strange. I know. Epstein who? It's a coffee boy, right? Never knew him. Never seen him before in my life. I don't know who this Epstein person is. Why you still want to talk about him? Look, okay. I know some of you are thinking, look, I know, yes, we're having fun with this, but you know how the MAGAs are. They're not going to care. They're going to be like, whatever. Well, some, at the moment, are none too thrilled about this, to be fair. In fact, one ex-user who usually supports, posts supportive ass-kissy-like tweets in support of Trump, posted this. Let's face it, we've been played again. You fell for it again, did you? Yeah. How many awards does that make? Another added, we got no deep state arrests, and they literally spit on our face with no Epstein client list, said another. Another said, the Epstein files will never be released. All evidence of foul play has been destroyed. We have been played. No justice for children, no truth, nothing. But guys, okay, what if it never existed? What if it never existed? Well, look, I think it does. I honestly think that, yes, it does. It probably does. Look, an attorney representing Epstein's victims is saying that not only did this exist, but the administration is holding back that information. Sigrid McCauley, who's representing several Epstein victims in their civil cases, said that the government has yet to disclose any of the information collected from Epstein's computers. Quote, I think what's really astonishing about this recent disclosure from the government is that they know they are sitting on a treasure trove of information, and they're not turning it over. And I've worked these cases for over 10 years now. There's a plethora of information that the public has not been able to see regarding relating to Epstein and his co-conspirators, McCauley told News Nation's Elizabeth Vargas. So there it is. I think that information does exist. I think Donald Trump is involved. I mean, you cannot tell me that somebody who palled around with a guy, flew around in his jet, partied with him, and openly said he's like, oh, Epstein. Oh, yeah, no, great guy. Love him. Beauty, you know what? I hear that he likes beautiful women just as much as I do. And many of them are on the younger side. You're gonna tell me that guy had no idea what was going on and isn't in these files, especially considering the way he is acting now? I might as well have stupid plastered on my forehead. Okay. Even the MAGAs are like, we're not that dumb. I mean, we're dumb, but we're not that dumb. Come on. What do you think we are? I don't know. Honestly, I don't. Maybe I shouldn't answer that question. Okay, just move on. But look, Trump, he even told Bill O'Reilly, okay, that the reason that he didn't want to release Epstein files, he says, quote, you don't want to affect people's lives. Wait, I thought the whole point was to unmask the people that are preying on children. And I was, oh, I don't want to affect people's lives. Bill O'Reilly, another sex pest, by the way, told News Nation, quote, there are a lot of names associated with Epstein that had nothing to do with his conduct. They maybe had lunch with him, or maybe he had some correspondence for one thing or another. If that name gets out, those people are destroyed. Oh, really? Because there's not going to be any context. The media doesn't care about context. Who's part of the media, Bill O'Reilly? You are, yes. And Bill O'Reilly doesn't seem to care about context either. So you can't do that. You can't destroy human beings by putting out the files, whatever they may be. So wait, he's saying that they do exist, but he's saying, well, we can't release them because, well, it's going to hurt people. What people? Which people? Again, I love that you have two sex pests, Bill O'Reilly and Donald Trump. Okay, Bill O'Reilly with his falafel, all right, and Trump, who was found liable for sexually abusing a woman, E. Jean Carroll, okay, they're out there talking about how, oh, no, we need to protect the people who hung out with Jeffrey Epstein because, you know, it might just destroy their lives. You know whose lives wouldn't be destroyed? People who didn't hang out with Jeffrey Epstein. I'm just saying. Yeah. Getting back to Burchett, though, I mean, yeah, people like Burchett, I'm not surprised to see them go full conspiracy theory. Of course, about a conspiracy theory, probably because, I don't know, lying like that just kind of comes naturally to them. I don't know. But it could be the fact that maybe some of them, they just want to cover it up to protect Donald Trump. I don't know the reasoning, but whatever the truth is, and whether or not these files actually exist or not, and who's on them, it looks like so far at this moment, this conspiracy is not going to go away. This will continue to be a pain for this administration. And you know what? I'm here for it. I'm sure y'all are too. So the only person who has had to face justice in regard to the whole awful thing is just one solitary woman. Yeah, isn't that interesting? It is the woman. And by the way, what if there was no list, if there was nothing like that, then why the hell is she still in prison then? Prison for what? What'd she do if there wasn't any You see the whole thing is it just completely falls apart. They don't want to affect people's lives. Why is that never applied to poor criminals? Yeah. Exactly. Separated and it doesn't feel good? I don't know. Republican Texas State Senator Angela Paxton has officially filed for divorce from Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, ending their nearly 4-decade marriage. Now, look, why does this matter? Well, I'm going to get into that, but it has something to do with the, corruption impeachment trial that Paxton had to, barely he survived that entire impeachment, obviously. It turns out that this might lend some credibility to the charges against him. Oops. Now, going to Twitter/X, you have Paxton saying this. Today, after 38 years of marriage, I filed for divorce on biblical grounds. Oh, you don't say. I believe marriage is a sacred covenant, and I have earnestly pursued reconciliation, but in light of recent discoveries, I do not believe that it honors God or is loving to myself, my children, or Ken to remain in the marriage. I move forward with complete confidence that God is always working everything together for the good of those who love him and who are called according to his purpose. Recent discoveries, you say? Oh, what could that be? Well, apparently some alleged infidelity. Because look, when they're talking about, oh, yeah, we had to end the marriage on biblical grounds, it always means that this guy he's got a wandering eye. Well, more like a wandering dick, but you know what I'm saying, okay?
Tallywhacker.
Tighten up my meat. I like my meat tight.
Just saying. Look, in her divorce petition filed in Collin County on Thursday, she accused her husband of adultery and noted that the couple had ceased living together as spouses in June of 2024. So, yeah, this has been in the works for quite some time. And of course, June of 2024 is after the impeachment trial where there's some stuff that was revealed. Okay, revealed. Now, the marriage, according to this divorce petition, has become insupportable because of discord or conflict of personalities between petitioner and respondent that destroys the legitimate ends of the marriage relationship, prevents any reasonable expectation of reconciliation. Paxton was previously accused, by the way, of having an affair with a donor's employee during his 2023 impeachment trial, during which he was acquitted of charges of corruption. Catherine Missy Carey, the former chief of staff in the Attorney General's office, had testified how she came to learn about this alleged affair and how Paxton had ultimately confessed to doing so. Yes, he confessed to doing it multiple times over a long period of time. This is not a one-off, okay? They were allegedly having this relationship for quite some time. Even after being found out, he continued this alleged information, or this alleged affair. Okay, affair. Anyway, look, Carey had testified that she had warned Paxton that this information could make him vulnerable to bribery. That's how this connects with the whole corruption charges. And so that, by the way, these allegations of corruption were central to this impeachment hearing. So the alleged affair is referenced in one of the articles of impeachment. No, that is not one of the articles against him. I mean, look, trying to impeach somebody for having an affair. I mean, what is this, like the 1990s with Newt Gingrich? Ken Starr and all that against Clinton? No. But corruption is a very real thing. And Carey had said that, hey, look, yes, this information out there they could use it against you, and they could use it to try to, get something for them. So a person could lord this over you and get special favors from the government. That's corruption. Okay. And so now this article of impeachment accused Paxton of bribery because he had benefited from Nate Paul's employment of a woman with whom Paxton was having the extramarital affair with. House managers at the time, impeachment managers alleged that Paxton, driven by his desire to continue the affair and to hide it from his wife and his religious voters, very important as well, even though, I'm not entirely sure why. I mean, all you have to do is just be like, oh, yes, I'm really sorry about that, but I have repented to Jesus and I've been forgiven. And so, hey, look, if Jesus can forgive me, then why can't you, voters? They always do that. They always do that. And look, it works. I don't know how, but it works. It works. But anyway, he was alleged to have went to impeachable and criminal lengths in order to help Paul so he could continue dicking with that other woman. Just saying. In exchange, they alleged Paul hired Olsen, the woman he allegedly had the affair with, at his company so she could move from San Antonio to Austin. That said, Paxton claims that this entire divorce thing, it's not because of my alleged affair. No, this is political attacks. Oh, and public scrutiny. But wait, this doesn't have anything to do with first of all, politics. It has to do with your alleged corruption. Okay? That corruption stemming from your wandering penis. Yeah, but no, it's public scrutiny. That's it. That's the problem. In fact, he said, after facing the pressures of countless political attacks and public scrutiny, Angela and I have decided to start a new chapter in our lives. A new separate chapter. Just saying. Now, look, here's the thing. I know there's a lot of talk about whether or not this is going to affect his race against John Cornyn. So, get into the political angle of it. I don't think it's going to have that much of effect because, let's be honest, if somebody already likes Ken Paxton and the things that he has been doing, the things that he has done, going after the LGBTQ plus community, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, then I don't think they're going to have too much of a problem with this. Honestly, I really don't think it's going to have an impact on this race. He's already 20 points ahead of Cornyn. So, no, not going to have really any effect. But nonetheless, John Cornyn has refused to even talk about this. Okay, all right, fine. The NRSC, however, did jump into it. In fact, NRSC spokesperson Joanna Rodriguez said this, quote, "What Ken Paxton has put his family through is truly repulsive and disgusting. No one should have to endure what Angela Paxton has, and we pray for her as she chooses to stand up for herself and her family during this difficult time." And there it is. Look, again, I don't know what kind of impact this is going to have on that race. I don't know, but I guess that while the one thing that you can say is that while the impeachment trial did not lead to Ken Paxton being removed from his job, at least it accomplished something in helping to completely obliterate his marriage. Good job. Alrighty. Move on to some good news. Republicans, ever the consummate hypocrites, swear that they are family values party. So what happened to that, Ken? Right? Yeah, at this point, you have to understand that family values just means we hate gay people. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Newly freed student and activist, unjustly and illegally detained by the Trump regime, is looking to get some payback. Lawyers for Mahmoud Khalil, the Columbia University graduate and Palestinian activist, had filed a claim against the Trump administration for $20 million in damages. They're alleging false imprisonment, malicious prosecution, and defamation. The filing, a precursor to a lawsuit under the Federal Tort Claims Act, names the Department of Homeland Security, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, and the State Department as defendants. Nice. Khalil was released from U.S. immigration detention last month after having been held for more than 3 months over his activism against Israel's assault on Gaza. Upon his release, Khalil told reporters, although justice prevailed, it's very long overdue, and this shouldn't have taken 3 months. I leave some incredible men behind me, over 1,000 people behind me, in a place where they shouldn't have been. Responding to the allegations made against him by the Trump administration, that is, pro-Palestinian organizing had constituted a national security threat. Yes, that's right. They trotted out little Marco Rubio to go and claim, oh, this is national security. That's it. Yes. Wow. These protests are threatening our national security. We're going to have to shut them down. How does that threaten national security? How? It doesn't. Period. But here's what he said in response. Trump and his administration, they chose the wrong person for this. Well, that doesn't mean there was a right person for this. There is no right person who should be detained for actually protesting a genocide. I like that he said that. There is no right person for this. But of all the people you could have chose, you chose the wrong MFer to deal with. Because now I'm coming for you. I love it. Khalil told reporters that he was looking forward to returning home to spend time with his infant son who was born while he was detained. Quote, I could actually hug him. Look, that is both heartwarming, but also incredibly sad. He never should have been forced to miss his child's birth. And it's all because he was protesting against a genocide that Donald Trump and Joe Biden before him, were helping to fund and continue to help fund. Look, I have major problems with what Biden did, right? But Donald Trump took the extra step and then trying to strip Khalil's green card from him for his activism and to take away his free speech rights. And look, hasn't even been charged with a crime, but they're trying to deport him now. Yes, they're still attempting to deport him. It's insane. I mean, we got this so-called free speech president coming after a person who, again, is not only a Muslim, but is a pro-peace activist and is against with what the corrupt Netanyahu government in Israel is doing to Gaza right now. It's disgusting. Look, Israel right now, the right-wing government of Israel wants the Gaza Strip. I mean, they have openly admitted that, yes, our entire plan is to get rid of all the Palestinians, do an ethnic cleansing so that we can have our settlers come in and just take it over. And it's disgusting. And Trump, for his part in it, he's in favor of it. And he's like, you know what we want to do? We're going to build Gaza-Lago on it, okay? That's what we're going to do. I'm in favor of that, yeah. I mean, Jared Kushner had talked about this as well. And so, yeah, no wonder Trump is with Netanyahu. And, of course, Netanyahu is like, oh, yeah, I want to give Trump the, a Nobel Peace Prize? For what exactly? Helping and assisting with a genocide? Not exactly peaceful, is it? Now, in a statement to the Associated Press, Tricia McLaughlin, the spokesperson for DHS, raged against this. She called Khalil's claim for $20 million, quote, absurd. And it accused him of hateful behavior and rhetoric that threatened Jewish students. Really? Really? Because a lot of the protesters against the war are Jewish students. I mean, Jewish groups were leading the charge against the Netanyahu government. We're leading the charge against the genocide. And yet they're sitting there claiming, yes, these Jewish-led student protests hurt not only our national security, but also hurt Jewish students. How? Doesn't make any sense. Now, alongside of this lawsuit, by the way, Khalil also filed for another preliminary injunction to stop the government from trying to detain and deport him. This was filed as part of his original case, which challenged his detention being heard in U.S. District Court in New Jersey. So his legal woes are not entirely over, but he continues to fight against them. So that's good. Khalil told the AP, this isn't just about me, it's about setting a precedent. We need to show that abusing the immigration system for political retribution, because that's what this is, retribution is not acceptable in democracy. If we still have a democracy, I don't think we do, but nonetheless, I'm on his side. I'm not going to be quiet just because they tried to lock me up. That's not how this works. They're abusing their power because they think that they are untouchable. Unless they feel that there's some sort of accountability, it will continue to go unchecked. Yes. Yeah, look, he's fighting. And that's what we need more of. We need more people to fight against this regime. Now, Khalil says that he plans to share any settlement money that he may receive with with others targeted by Trump's failed effort to suppress pro-Palestinian speech. Now, he said, look, even if I don't get settlement money, I still will accept just an apology and a change to the administration's deportation policies. I'll have to say that he would likely get money. He would probably get money instead of that. I'm just saying, more likely to get settlement cash. But nonetheless, I still love it. I love the effort that he's doing. He definitely deserves restitution. And this regime needs to be held accountable for what they have been trying to do, what they have been doing. I mean, Khalil is only trying to, fight to stop a genocide. And I think that part right there just shows you that he is not going to be intimidated by this regime. And that is good. I hope that these efforts will continue to galvanize people and hopefully will continue to wake up the sleeping giant that is the American people against this. And you know what? Go on to prove that this Trump administration, this regime and his goons are actually not as untouchable as they pretend to be. Dementia Don would never apologize. Yeah, that's why I'm saying it's more likely that he's just going to get the money. But still, I'll take it. Okay. I wouldn't support doing this to right-wing protesters either. Well, yeah, that's really the point too, we actually give a damn about the Constitution and about people's free speech rights. They don't. They only use that in order to come for their political enemies and to protect themselves. Okay. President Donald Trump is coming to the defense of his friend, former Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro. Now, the president announced a sweeping 50% tariff on all Brazilian imports on Wednesday. Why Brazil? Now, he's made a whole lot of claims. I'm going to go debunk some of them, but let's be honest what this is about. This is about trying to protect Bolsonaro, who is currently on trial for his failed 2022 coup attempt. So he lost the election to Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, who he had previously thrown in jail on phony corruption charges. Okay, so this guy had attempted to do what Trump tried in 2020 to overturn an election. Now, both of those attempts had failed, but where Trump succeeded was still getting back into power because our systems failed to stop him, failed to hold him accountable. Whereas in Brazil, they actually did do what they were supposed to do. And look, Trump had the support of the entire Republican Congress, as well as the Supreme Court that helped him. And of course, very weak opposition from the Democrats. Whereas De Silva, he's like, no, you threw me in prison. Now we're going to come after you. Okay, we're coming back. Okay. And so, look, Trump's tariff announcement came after a public war of words with De Silva, who earlier this week called Trump an unwanted emperor. This world has changed, Lula told reporters while addressing Trump's tariff threat. We don't want an emperor. We are sovereign nations. If he thinks he can impose tariffs, other countries, we have the right to impose tariffs too. Which is true. That's what a trade war is all about. And so, yes, he's true. And look, in his letter to on Wednesday to De Silva, Trump said the way that, quote, Brazil has treated the former president is an international disgrace. Oh, is it? Look, I can see how a country that actually held their criminal former president accountable would look like a disgrace for Donald Trump, considering that he is also a criminal. Just saying. So he looks and says, oh my God, that could have been me. Oh my God, the guy's just like me. Again, Bolsonaro was called the Brazilian Donald Trump. So yes, he got held accountable, and Trump's like, oh God. Oh no, that could be me.
Oh no!
So yes, put the fear in him, I think. But now he added, quote, we have had years to discuss our trading relationship with Brazil. I know he's still trying to convince everybody that this is about trade. It's not. But he says, we have concluded that we must move away from the longstanding and very unfair trade relationship engendered by Brazil's tariff and non-tariff policies and trade barriers. Our relationship has been, unfortunately, far from reciprocal. He had cited, quote, unsustainable trade deficits against the United States as part of his reasoning. Which ones? Which one? What trade deficit? What trade deficit with Brazil? And let me give you the details on that. As of last year, the U.S. actually had a trade surplus of $7.4 billion with Brazil. What trade deficit? You were lying, son. You are an absolute gaslighting, lying piece of shit. Okay, really? But of course, maybe now he just created a trade deficit, so good job, because they ain't gonna buy our stuff no more. Congratulations. But all of this is about, of course, helping and defending his buddy Bolsonaro. He called this trial a, quote, witch hunt and claimed that Bolsonaro is not guilty of anything. This trial should not be taking place. It is a witch hunt that should end immediately. Trump also accused the Brazilian government of making, quote, insidious attacks on free elections. Oh, the projection is off the charts. And the fundamental free speech rights of Americans, including by censoring U.S. social media platforms. You know, like X. Yes. Now look, here's the thing on that. Recently, Brazil's Supreme Court found that social media companies just can be held accountable for information and content posted to their platforms. Essentially, they got rid of their version of Section 230, right? And so I think that's likely because they want to combat fake news. Now, fake news overwhelmingly, and there are studies to prove this, to back this up, fake news comes overwhelmingly from the right wing. It comes from Russian bots and trolls. American bots and trolls. It comes from Elon Musk. And guess what? It comes from Donald freaking Trump putting out fake news. So, yeah, I get why they did this. I get it. I have a slight disagreement with holding the platforms accountable for what the users do. I do think that invites a little bit of censorship, and so I'm not comfortable with that. And the reason that is because I know that stuff like this usually ends up getting used against the left. I'm just saying, at least in America. Okay. But that said, I get why they're doing it. Okay. But regardless, right, of that, obviously Trump's only real issue here is, oh my God, they came after Bolsonaro, and I just don't want that to happen to me here. That's it. He also wants to punish a left-wing leader for attempting to hold a criminal accountable, and he's using our trade and our foreign policy to try to do it. It's gross. Henry J. Barkey, a adjunct a senior fellow for the Middle East Studies and at the Council on Foreign Relations, spoke to Newsweek and said this about what's going on. Quote, he talks about Bolsonaro not getting a fair deal, but when Marine Le Pen, the leader of France's far-right political party, was convicted by the French court system, which is completely independent of the presidency, he lambasted the French for convicting her. Once again, another far-right leader being held accountable for their crimes. It's interesting he's going after Brazil now with tariffs, which doesn't make sense because Brazil has a trade deficit with the U.S., but personal connections matter to Trump, and Bolsonaro is somebody he obviously has sympathy for. And there you go. 100%. Look, I hope that Brazil continues to stand strong against the Trump regime and does what we in the United States, as a result of our weak opposition party, failed to do in actually holding their criminal former president accountable. So great job, Brazil. Great job, Lula. Keep at it. Europe naturally has a much lower tolerance for fascists. Yes. Wonder why that is. Oh, yeah, right. They had some bad experiences with that previously. So I get that. Moving on. Let's get to the last story here. BRICS is a threat to the dollar. That is another thing, yes. And Trump's definitely not in favor of that. Alleged Democratic Senator John Fetterman received some backlash for attacking New York City mayoral candidate Zohran Mamdani. Going on Fox News, yes, speaking to Fox News, I should say, the Democratic congressman from Pennsylvania suggested that Mamdani he's not really a Democrat.
I'm not a voter in New York City, and so I have no dog in that fight. And everything that I've read on him, I don't really agree with virtually any of it politically. So that's just where I'm at as a Democrat. I mean, he's not even a Democrat, honestly.
He's not even a Democrat. Wait, this is the man who pretended during his campaign to be progressive. Okay, well, to be fair, maybe he wasn't pretending. Perhaps the stroke that he had caused enough brain damage to make him into a conservative. I don't know. It could be. Maybe he was progressive once. Maybe he was acting. I don't know. But what's important now is that Fetterman is definitely not acting like a Democrat. Okay? At least not one who actually wants to win. Who wants to create a winning coalition. Okay? who wants to be a member of a winning political party. All right. This man is cozying up to a fascist, Donald Trump. And even look, after the election, Fetterman was like, members of the Democratic Party should stop freaking out. Quote, if you're rooting against the president, you're rooting against the nation. The hell are you talking about? The president is not the country. Okay, that's some, Bush era like bullshit right there. Okay, I mean, this reminds me of like, you can't criticize George W. Bush while we're at war. That's un-American. You can't criticize Donald Trump because he's president. You can't root for him to fail because you're rooting against the nation. Shut up. This is a man who also is wholeheartedly supporting a genocide that does not have the support of the American people, thankfully. Most Democrats are against what's going on in Gaza. They sympathize more, and this has been a sea change in American politics. Okay, I mean, you asked 10 years ago, most people would be like, oh, no, I'm in favor. I am obviously way more sympathetic to the Israelis. Now, you have a majority, especially Democrats, that sympathize with the Palestinians because finally people are seeing what monstrous things are happening to the Palestinian people at the hands of this right-wing government. So that's what's going on here. All those videos that have come out, all of that stuff, just showing how horribly the Palestinian people are being treated by the right-wing government of Israel. And yet this guy, Fetterman, is like, you know what we should do? We should let Israel finish the job and just annex Palestine. And, basically do an ethnic cleansing of the area. Kick all the Palestinians out and then let Israel take it over. Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Now, look, you got a lot of pushback, of course, for this. One ex-user wrote, pot meets kettle. Look who's talking, said someone else. Bro, neither are you, replied another. Look, Fetterman is one of the examples of why Democrats lose. Okay? He is why Democrats lose. When you campaign as a progressive and then you get into power and you're like, just kidding. Let's cozy up with Trump. Oh, I don't like that Mamdani. He's not a real Democrat. This is why the base hates these people. Okay? Hates people like Fetterman. Whereas Mamdani is what Democrats should be if they actually want to win. Because he has bold policy proposals, he is young, he is energetic, and most importantly, he is willing to stand up and fight for his policies, for the right things. Whereas these establishment folks, they don't want to do that. They fight for donor money. And so the establishment, and that's why the establishment and the right wing are so opposed to Mamdani. They're so freaked out by Mamdani. And for Fetterman, Mamdani is what Fetterman claimed to be during his campaign, a progressive fighter. And yet, Fetterman has said that Mamdani's victory over Andrew Cuomo in the primaries was a, quote, gift for the Republican Party, saying that it was Christmas in July for the GOP and provided an opportunity for the GOP to brand our party. Like they branded you. I remember during his campaign where they were calling Fetterman what a wild socialist. Oh my God, he's in favor of Medicare for all. What to bankrupt the nation. What a socialist. And now you're doing the same thing against Mamdani. I mean, it's disgusting. Hey, how about we stop letting Republicans define who we are? I'm really, really sick of, people allowing the Republicans to define the Democrats. Okay, and to define progressives and to define democratic socialists. Okay, why can't they define themselves? Why can't the Democrats define themselves? Well, I got an answer for that too. It's because most of the Democrats, unfortunately, are empty suits filled with donor cash who keep trying and failing, by the way, to appeal to Republican voters. But look, Republicans, and the reason that I think, reaching out to Republicans all the time is because Republicans actually don't care about their politicians being completely corrupt. It's true. It's true. I know the Republicans are, drain the swamp, and then they vote for the swamp monster. They vote for the most corrupt people imaginable. They voted for Donald Trump. I mean, come on. But, those same people, though, and here's what the Democrats don't understand. They would never vote for a Democrat. Never would. Yet these so-called, establishment, enlightened centrists, they keep trying. And in doing so, they vilify and drive away their own voters, their own base. And they malign them, by the way. Oh, you're far left. No, in reality, they're center left. Look, a lot of the Democrats, Democratic voters specifically, they're center left. Okay. Look, Mamdani is also center left. He is the compromise candidate. Okay. He wants to create things like public grocery stores so that they can compete with other grocery stores to provide low income people cheaper groceries. He's actually doing what Trump had claimed that he wanted to do, was to bring down the price of groceries, right? Well, this is the way of doing it. It's basically it's a public option, but for groceries instead, which I think is a smart idea, and it's a good idea. But of course, it's being decried as, it's authoritarian socialism. No, it's trying to stop the, padding of the pockets of these giant corporations that, by the way, during the pandemic and afterwards, used inflation as as an excuse to raise their prices, creating inflation, and draining money from working class people, from average people. Okay, that's what they're doing. And not only that, but look, he wants free public transportation, which also makes sense because guess what? The public has already paid for that transportation through their taxes. If it's public transportation, how does that get funded? It gets funded through your tax money. So why are people who use this public transportation to get to work being double taxed for this? Taxed once in order to pay for it, and then having to pay a fare. That doesn't make any sense. And then, of course, he wants to freeze rents for people who have seen their rent go through the roof because of big real estate driving up prices. So these are not radical policies. These are not radical at all. But you know what is radical? Supporting a genocide. That's radical. What's radical is allowing rich people to strip all of the wealth from the working class to give it to themselves. That's radical. All Mamdani is trying to do is just to bring some of that money back to the people. If that makes him not a Democrat, according to John Fetterman, well, then I guess all the voters that voted for Mamdani and all of his supporters from all across the country, I guess they're not Democrats either. Which means Democrats, like Fetterman, supposed Democrats, have a real big problem and might as well just become Republicans. Yeah, something called Citizens United allowed tons of money to flood into politics. And it's not just that, too. There are other decisions that allowed money to flood into politics. Buckley Vallejo, Bellotti versus First Bank, which, again, first allowed money to get into our political system and then named that money, that corruption, to be part of free speech. Citizens United was able to build on those decisions and make what was a situation that was already not great from the 1970s on, especially in the 1980s, to make that situation of dark money in our political system worse. so much worse and allowed for those decisions like Citizens United to happen in the first place. And so we've had a problem with money in politics for the last 50 years, flooding and poisoning our system of government, and making it so that it only serves the rich and powerful. It's just been making this so much worse. And unfortunately, with the makeup of the Supreme Court that we have today, we're not going to be able to undo that, not in our lifetimes. Not unless something completely radical and unprecedented happens. But speaking of Mamdani, again, people like him, you got to understand, they're the compromise candidates. Compromise for what? Or instead of what? Well, I don't think any of us want to find out. Mamdani is a thorn in their side that money will try to destroy. Yes, and they're already trying so hard. And they're just making him look better and better and better. Citizens United makes any attempt at campaign finance reform that much harder. Oh, yes, by the way, I didn't even mention, and I should have, and I just forgot during the segment, but yeah, Richie Torres and all those other people just coming after Mamdani. And by the way, I think it was Torres that said either that or it was Hakeem Jeffries. I'm not sure which, that had recently said, "Oh, you're gonna find out if you try to primary me." Okay, all right. Well, let's do it then. Let's do it. Bring the primaries. Let's go. All right. But anyway, that's the show. Thank you for watching. Please like and share if you haven't already. Check out the videos. Become a member. And, you know, a YouTube member or Facebook member or a supporter subscriber on Twitch. And also you can support me directly by going to our Patreon, patreon.com/jeffwaldorf. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We have made it yet through another week. Amazing. So try to have a good weekend, recover, and rest so that on Monday we continue the fight. Hold this regime accountable, and for me to, you know, give you the information, arm you with the information that you need to do that. So, everybody, thank you for watching. Love you all, and remember, change begins with you. Good night, everybody.